Licensed games are often a contentious proposition in the gaming industry. Go back 3 console generations and they were written off as low-level junk designed to feed off the success of feature films. Flash forward to today and you'll find many a property being used and abused for maximum financial gain. Every so often a genuinely great effort steals in, even if it isn't appreciated at launch. Mad Max from Avalanche Studios is one of those titles. A video game based on George Miller's most well-known series had been in the works since 2008 and was in full development long before the film's return to prominence. The director coordinated with both Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and Avalanche Studios, offering his input at several stages to get the look and feel right. It was quite the departure from the studio's previous efforts, adopting a more serious tone and doing away with the wackier antics of Rico Rodriguez. Already things were looking good. The studio treated the IP with respect, aiming to create a faithful interactive version of the Road Warrior's deadly adventures. Like the Batman Arkham series before it, Mad Max 2015 also made a solid choice when it came to story and the wider mythos. The final product uses the Miller films as inspiration rather than adaptation, striking out on its own confident route. At first glance, things look fairly straightforward in the opening cutscene. Max, performed by Bren Foster in his only video game appearance, loses his pride and joy, vows revenge on the antagonist, and opens the title with a basic walking sequence. He stumbles across a deformed hermit named Chumbucket, voiced by Jason Spisak, and the two form an unlikely partnership to survive the wastes. The game doesn't take long to bestow a new vehicle and let the player loose into the large open world, broken into several territories and regions. With a split of 60% driving and 40% on-foot action, the gameplay formula is easy to get into for any fan of sandboxes. One of the best things about Mad Max for me is how it ducks many tropes in third-person shooter games. With the controls mapped to a different layout and a very basic jump button, the game tells you early on that this is a different experience from its contemporaries. Rather than defaulting to an over-the-shoulder view with multiple weapons, Max only has his trusty sawn-off shotgun on foot, and can't carry any more than 3 shells in the early going. This places far more emphasis on the hand-to-hand and car combat, while also fitting right in with the struggle to survive. Max doesn't have access to the bullet farm in this game, which works to its benefit, as the game focuses on beating down the opposition with your bare hands. Yes, the brawling is taken straight from Batman Arkham and the Shadow of Mordor franchises, with its use of light strikes, heavy attacks, counters and special moves in a continuous combo, but it's hardly fair to criticise Mad Max for being derivative when the fights are so crunchy and impactful. Naughty Dog's Uncharted series took multiple gameplay styles from other releases and made them work together brilliantly. Why shouldn't Mad Max do the same? Whether it's landing a brutal shiv kill on an enemy, or sending Max into a vicious fury for more powerful attacks, the fight scenes are always satisfying. There's just enough variation in the enemy types to keep things interesting, and the same is true when driving the magnum opus. When was the last time you played a game with genuinely fun battles between vehicles in a single player context? There are very few destruction derby or car combat titles today, and the biggest pioneer, Twisted Metal, fizzled out way back in 2012 on the PS3. The speed and explosive carnage of the genre makes for a rollicking good time, something Mad Max takes full advantage of. Avalanche took a step beyond the wacky physics of the Just Cause series and gave players a huge array of attacks, functions and upgrades. A simple button combination for side ramming, using the boost for a head-on collision, and other tools that aid in both combat and traversal. The car is so well integrated into the action, and unlike another big name release in 2015, it never became a burden. Using the harpoon and swapping to a sniper rifle is a breeze, and both functions aren't just tacked on for the sake of it. Enemy snipers and artillery can do some serious damage to your vehicle if you don't take them out quickly, and thanks to the snappy auto-aim, the system never gets fiddly. What's also surprising is how well the game flows. As I mentioned in a previous retrospective, too many open world titles are filled with busy work, checklist design, and repetitive objectives that don't give major rewards. In Mad Max, there are many clearly defined activities, attacking convoys, destroying outposts, looting supplies, and other components. Thanks to the high speed of your car and the simple, straightforward structure of each location, you won't find yourself scrounging around for the last collectible very often. The settlements have been designed with most of the loot on the main path, with some brief side corridors and sections that require a specific item. The fast travel system is easily accessible from the offset, allowing you to quickly grab anything you missed the first time through. When paired up with the extensive upgrade system, you actually want to complete these tasks rather than feeling like you're going through the motions. Some of the daredevil racing can be tricky in the first act, as you're forced to use lesser vehicles to beat them, but otherwise the pacing is far better than most open world efforts. Whether it's Max or his ride, the items you can build are incredibly varied and useful. Scrap is the game's base currency, which can be gained in a number of ways, but keen explorers will stumble on more specialised parts. Outside of cosmetic changes, we have spikes to keep intruders off, improved engines for top speed and acceleration, faster reload speeds for weapons, and tougher armour to boost the health of both Max and his vehicle. You'd think that chum buckets would get annoying over time, but Max's partner is genuinely useful throughout the game. He points out incoming dangers and points of interest, repairs the car automatically when you hop out to explore, drives it over to you if you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, and adds an extra layer to the apocalyptic wasteland. Your little helper fits in so well with the world George Miller created, with his crazed sermons and unstable mannerisms. Like many factions in the wasteland, Chum Bucket worships both cars and the critical resources that keep survivors alive, an attitude enhanced by the various jabbering of your enemies and the collectibles that show a world long gone. These items are well connected to the challenge system, which bestows additional rewards for diligent players. With all these core strengths combined, Mad Max was able to develop a strong cult following, though unfortunately this came long after the release date. Despite coming out the same year as the highly acclaimed Fury Road, the game was unable to find the same success. By releasing the same day as Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, Avalanche's release had an uphill battle from the start. It didn't help that reviews were mixed and often branded the game unoriginal and unengaging. Due to these lower scores and underperformance in sales, DLC packs were cancelled. Playing Mad Max after Just Cause 4 was an interesting experience. It's clear that game failed to take lessons from both its predecessors and this smaller release, taking its gameplay loop in the wrong direction. The overall flow is incredibly important in larger game worlds. If it feels like a chore to traverse the landscape and complete activities, the many hours of play won't be nearly as enjoyable. Mad Max isn't very innovative or boundary pushing, but what it does well, and that's why it maintains a dedicated fanbase to this day. The game's systems and mechanics are airtight, and the open world never becomes tedious or overwhelming. It was released alongside some of the biggest heavy hitters of 2015, and for that reason it fell short from a commercial standpoint. But like all hidden gems, it has found a resurgence among the masses, maintaining its high community praise. A sequel is unlikely at this point, but if you haven't gotten into the title, it's well worth checking out in the sales. Thanks for watching. 10 years after its release, Mad Max was one of the biggest surprises I've had from modern gaming, and a standout licensed release. If you're interested in my thoughts on the Just Cause games, click the window here for my retrospective, and if you enjoyed watching, be sure to check out my channel.